It is another Friday morning here on the Circle of Knowledge podcast. Just in time, Jon comes in clutch and fixes his camera to make it HD mode during the introduction. Amazing timing, like a Hail Mary at the last second. But welcome, everybody. Good morning. I am so pumped up and so excited to introduce our guest and keynote speaker on the Circle of Knowledge podcast today. She's an individual who I've come to know through a really cool background and a really interesting circumstance. From a professional perspective, this person is an amazing human being and also just somebody who you want to have in your corner, in your pocketbook, or, all right, millennials, pull this word out of the dictionary. It's called a Rolodex. Yeah, a Rolodex. You used to put things on this Rolodex, and then it would spin on your desk, and it had contact information. But now you just use your phones. But this is someone who you want to have in your Rolodex or your proverbial connections or address book, if you want to even go that far back. Before we jump onto the show and before I introduce my beloved guest and friend, I want to share just a few quick things. Last night, we kicked off the first Champion Circle Networking Association meeting in Lehi, Utah. It was fantastic, an amazing turnout. And we'll be posting a speech that I gave in that meeting last night, where we took everyone through one of my favorite activities. Obviously, every year, Champion Circle, we start by thinking and growing rich. And we walk through Napoleon Hill's desire statement. We always go through and make sure that we continue to put it out there, to say it, to take the statements that Napoleon Hill has described to us and to work on that for the first 90 days of our year. And the reason why is, again, no book in the history of mankind has ever made more millionaires than Think and Grow Rich. And no book has ever made people more successful in personal and professional development than Think and Grow Rich. So why not put it to the test? And this year, our members are doing so. And last night was kicked off with a hitch. It was awesome and it was amazing. So I just wanted to congratulate all of our members worldwide who've joined us virtually and in person. Thank you for doing so. And again, I am the founder of Champion Circle, but I wanted to just make mention of how much fun it was. And that literally carried my energy to this morning, where now I get to introduce an amazing friend. I'm going to bring her on screen, but before she speaks, I want to do an amazing introduction because she is an incredible person. You guys, today you get to hear from this, I'm going to point this way, this amazing woman, Teresa Cundiff. She's an author. She's a TV host. She's a 6-time best-selling author. She's the host of her own TV show called Teresa Talks, which we'll learn a lot about today. She's a professional proofreader. And you want to know how I found out about how she was a professional proofreader? Well, I was helping editing her chapter in a book that we are in together, and I made more mistakes than anyone can count, and she made it known. So there we go. And all in a positive, good way, of course. She has an amazing husband and family. She's been married for 32 years. Are you sure? Are you sure it's been 32 years?
Yep, coming up on 33 in March.
Okay. Well, first of all, we need to figure out what vitamins you're taking, because obviously there's something in the water down there. You look way too young to be married. And Brian is so great. He's a retired Army officer, so thanking him always for his service. And you guys have moved around a lot. You've got some boys and the one thing I also want to throw out there before we dive into Teresa's life and get to know her is that she used to be, or is, a professional singer and actress. Mm-hmm. And so moving to her own TV show and moving to her own atmosphere of Teresa and what she wants to do was it was not that difficult. It was a easy shift. So I can't wait to hear more about that. And the last but not least is the way that I met Teresa, and I like to share that. Like, how did you guys meet? Oh, well, we met through the 13 Steps to Riches, the book project that we are both involved in. And I know that Teresa's written more books than this, but Teresa is one of the amazing contributing authors to the 13 Steps to Riches. There she is holding up her copy of the latest book. And tomorrow, our 4th volume goes live. I'm so excited. But anyways, everybody help me give everybody, everyone who's listening on the live, throw your hands up and give me your best emojis. Welcome Teresa Cundiff to the stage. Teresa, thank you for joining me, and thank you for hurdling over the hoops we had to go through this morning and technical difficulties. But I'm so glad you're here, and I'm pumped up. How are you feeling?
Oh, Jon, thank you so much for having me here. What an incredible introduction. I'm so glad that you're in focus. That was like, you are right. It was a Hail Mary. You've been through so many things. I was going to say, if I knew you were going to mention Rolodex, I could have brought out my behemoth of a Rolodex. It's gigantic. I still have it. It's tucked away in my cabinet back here. So I am of the Rolodex generation, so I have one of those. I also have an address book. It's right here on my desk because I'm old school that way when it comes to doing my Christmas cards, because I track who sent me one and who I sent one to. Got to make sure that, you got that reciprocity going on with Christmas cards. But I do have an address book because I love that. But of course, we have the phone. It's full of hundreds of contacts because we can't live without the phone. But thank you so much for that introduction. You certainly have a lot going on. And yes, we're in this fabulous book series together. We are in the Global Speakers Mastermind together as well, which I adore that every month. And it's been such a pleasure getting to know you. I believe we are of the Mutual Admiration Society because I adore you. And thank you so much for having me on. I look forward to having you on Teresa Talks as well. So thank you so much.
I would be honored to be on Teresa Talks, and thank you. Thank you for that suggestion. Thank you. And you're an amazing human being. And the more I get to know you, you know what's funny is I get to know you obviously through the small interactions when we have our authors meetings and we connect. But the most powerful way that I get to know you, I feel very selfish because I get to know you. I get to know you. There you go. I had to say it 3 times because it felt funny. I get to know you through your work. And when I read your chapters and when I go through it and I'm what goes through the book and so forth, man, I connect with Teresa, and you have some phenomenal stories. And I know that the world needs to hear them. I know that this book series isn't your first rodeo. You've been a part of many books. What other books have you read or written?
Well, I actually happen to have my first one here that I did with our beloved Steve Sambliss, who we lost to COVID.
Yeah.
But this was my first book that actually made me an author. One Habit for Entrepreneurial Success. And I know we're going to talk a little bit later about my golden nugget, but I said yes to this opportunity when it came along. Do you want to be in a book? And I said, yes, I want to be in a book. And this book is the one that made me an author, even though I have a book in me that I have started writing, and it's a memoir of my life. But this, when I was the first time that I saw my name and my photo in print, and I did a whole unboxing of it when it came in. I, went live on my phone. I walked out to the mailbox. I got it out. I brought it in. I opened the envelope, and I was all verklempt. It choked me up. It brought me to tears. I opened the book. It was an experience that I was so glad that I captured it on video because it really, really moved me. And this book is in the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest book put together by entrepreneurs. And it was just an amazing set of firsts for me. And to be a part of it was just an incredible journey. So this was my first book. So, and then the books that we're in, of course, and then I had the awesome opportunity to be in this lovely book, The Art of Connection, that was put together by Robert W. Jones. And this book was has been placed in the Library of Congress. And it's one of the 365-day books. And it's quotes by entrepreneurs and business owners. So this is a fabulous little book that I'm really proud to be part of. And the second edition of that's coming out the end of this month. So,
oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's so many opportunities begin to open up when you say yes.
when you say yes. And I can't wait to dive into that and talk more about that. But again, congratulations. And I should have updated your bio before coming on the show, because little known secret that book number 5, before it even released, we hit #1 on the charts last Monday. So you're a 7-time #1 best-selling author. Oh my gosh, you're off to the races.
It's so incredible, and so grateful for the opportunity. And you and Eric have positioned the book series so well, and just grateful that everyone that's reading the book series understands every other month we're putting out a book, and it's a great feat on your part. Because you are feverishly reading these chapters. And I do try to submit my chapter to you completely edited, but I realize that I do miss some stuff. And that's like the first sort of rule of thumb of proofreading, is that you can't proof your own copy.
Yeah.
And it's because you're too familiar with the material, because you'll just read over some stuff. You're just too familiar with it. And so I do hope that when you send it back to me and I read your edits on my work, that I'm gentle with my corrections when I send it back to you.
And you know what? Be as harsh as you want, because it's the way you want it. And I love that you said that. It actually, like I said, I feel like I get to know you better because of this process, and it's so fun. And by the way, I'm not the editor. I have an editing team that works with us, and they're amazing. And then I go through and read it, and we just go through and approve for flow. But it's so awesome to get that feedback from the authors, especially you. And I totally agree. It's so hard to proofread your own stuff. You need someone else's external opinion. And it helps. But then at the end of the day, you get the big slap of approval that says, yep, that's mine. I feel good about that. And that's a fun thing. But let's back up a little bit, because this podcast is all about getting to know you. And then I want you to obviously share the nuggets of knowledge that others should hear and know. And then we'll call them to action. But before that, actress, singer, proofreader, editor, how did that come to be? What was the journey from? Was it actress and singer first? Was it proofreader? Was it, that's a hobby of mine, this is my actual job? Like, tell us a little bit about you and how you came to be.
Okay, so yes, it seems incongruous, definitely, for sure.
But it's awesome. Singer, it's very well-roundedness.
Well, singer always been a singer. Grew up in church, been singing in church, just always been a singer. Always had the ear for it, and the talent. Voice lessons, a couple times throughout the course of my life, but always sang in choir, always sang in church. Was in choir in middle school and in high school, and actually was taken out of typing class as a sophomore in high school and put in swing choir. And to this day, I am not a proper typist, and I absolutely hate it. But I made certain that both of my boys could type properly, because it's been the bane of my existence to not be a proper typist. So there was that. But with regard to words and stuff, I was always great at English and math, actually, were my top subjects. But choir was just always something I was a part of, because I was a great singer. If I can actually own that now at the age that I am. I was always a great singer. But I was naturally bent towards English and math, and science as well, but didn't pursue that as much. But words were always a thing. And one of my stories is that growing up, the way the bookshelf was with the TV sitting on it, there was always just a dictionary beside it. And whenever there was a word on TV that I didn't understand, I would always look it up. And of course, I would keep looking it up, spelling it phonetically in my head. I would keep looking it up until I found it and could read the definition, and I would take it on board to make certain that I knew what the word was and what it meant. And because I never wanted to be embarrassed in a conversation because I didn't know a word. and I was always a great speller as well. And I wanted to make certain that in my writing that I could spell everything and punctuate it properly. And so one of the things about English is a difficult language with synonyms and homonyms and words that sound the same but are spelled differently and so forth. And so we study English our whole lives, and we can't write it properly.
Right.
For those of us where English is our first language, we can't write it properly, and we definitely can't punctuate it properly. And so my tagline for my proofreading business is, I know where the commas go, because in my opinion, that's the most improperly used piece of punctuation in our language is the comma. It's a comma splice. It's a run-on sentence because there's no commas in it at all. And so I've always just understood English and how to punctuate it, very well, and sentence structure and grammar and all of those things. And so it's just something that's come naturally to me. And in things that I've always just been a proofreader because I've understood that. And you'd read stuff and you go, well, that's not punctuated properly, and that's the wrong word. Mm-hmm. And people don't understand the difference between fewer and less, and they don't understand the difference between which and that, and just all those kinds of different things. So that's just come naturally to me, as well as my singing talent. And that lent itself to musical theater. And so maybe because too, I was like the third child in the family of 4, I needed to be noticed. And so I just was, more outstanding in that field. And, I think I'm funny. whether that makes me funny or not, I don't know, but I have a very, very strong sarcastic bone in me, so I do qualify myself as speaking fluent sarcasm. And sometimes I'm so sarcastic it's not funny, it's offensive, and I try to make certain that I don't cross that line. I have to read the room. And sometimes I get it wrong, but so there's that. And then, so then here in Fredericksburg, where we landed in 2002, when the Army moved us here, my husband was Lieutenant Colonel. We had finished Command General Staff College at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and we came here. We have a professional theater here, but I didn't get involved with that until like 2008. We did Beauty and the Beast, and my younger son, who is much like me, a singer, mad tap dancer, he played Chip in Beauty and the Beast, and I was in the ensemble, and I understudied Mrs. Potts. And so that's when we began being involved in our professional theater here in Fredericksburg. And so I worked here for about 10 years. And he was in lots of shows here as well. And throughout his middle school and high school and college years here. So that's kind of how that.
That's amazing. That. I do want to say and ask, I mean, I'm going to switch screens here. Big opportunity to settle the world's longest debate. And,
oh dear.
This is the time, because I side with you, but we need to settle this right now. And that is Oxford comma or no Oxford comma?
Oh dear. Okay. Well, my understanding is there is some legal questions when regard to using the Oxford comma or not using the Oxford comma. So if you think that there could possibly be in the future some type of legal argument against what you're writing, you should use the Oxford comma.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. The debate has been settled. Oh, awesome. That's great. I had to tease, but I love that you confidently threw down. Wait a minute. Wait for it.
Uh-oh, he's going to ring a bell or something.
The gavel.
Oh.
Boom. It is over, everybody. No more debate. You hear Teresa. Okay, there you go. and thank you for telling me more about the family aspects, because being married to somebody who's in the Army and moved you around a lot, that probably influenced your ability to be a singer actress wherever you went, like your possibilities, your jobs, everything that may have influenced how you were able to continue to do that, or maybe it didn't. How
Well,
did that aspect influence your life?
well, it influenced in that I was not able to pursue. Well, I always sang in church, always,
Mhm.
always. When we moved, we found our church, and I took my place in choir always. When we lived in England for 2 years, from 95 to 97, I joined the Brampton Choral Society,
Oh,
and they
good
did a
papa.
musical, the Pajama Game, and I had actually done that musical once before, playing the lead, and this time I played the supporting lead, and they let me play it as an American, because I promise you, there is nothing more intimidating than affecting a British accent among a bunch of Brits. So, but that was great fun. And then while we were there, the Choral Society sang at Westminster Abbey, and so that was great fun. We loved our tour in England. It was wonderful, but and and that was not without its challenges, because Brian had to precede me over to England. And so then, of course, we had both of our children do in between posts. So we went back to my hometown of Clarksville, Tennessee, which is next to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, had both of my babies there, one in Clarksville, one on Fort Campbell. That's another whole podcast. But then I moved to England with a 3.5-year-old and a 2-month newborn. And Brian had already gone. And so my mom went with me. We had 2, 4, 6, 8 pieces of luggage. It was a bit of a fiasco. But not every woman's cut out to be a military spouse. It takes a great deal of intestinal fortitude to hold down the fort when your soldier's away. But I also would like to comment that our older son did follow his dad's footsteps into the military as an Army officer, but then due to a back injury of jumping out of airplanes during airborne school, was medically retired from the Army. So, but that's okay. I'm just saying, we are a fan. My dad was in the Army, and my father-in-law was also in the Army. So we are a family of military service, and proud to be so.
Amazing. And again, the least we can do is to give gratitude to all of those who have served and thank him thank him on behalf of us.
Thanks.
By the way, Teresa, just so you know, we have a few of your friends are throwing you some
hey,
absolute
Anna.
love. And this is the best part about the live show, is that you get to see who's saying hello, and we can actually interact with some of them sometimes. But those of you catching the podcast, which is actually wildly more popular, more people listen to the audio than they do watch the show. But I love doing the video part because it allows us to connect with people in a really cool way. Have been an awesome opportunity for many people. Here's another person who loves you dearly. I want to transition just a little bit, and thank you for telling me a little bit of your background, and I'm sure we'll get into more, because there's more to Teresa than meets the eye, everybody. She is well-rounded, phenomenal, just an amazing human being. And if you haven't already caught it from her speaking, she's very, very good at speaking. In fact, I'm curious about your future public speaking career, because as an actress, you just own the stage. You're very, very confident and competent in how you present yourself, how you speak, how you orate, how you connect and communicate. And I'm so always impressed, even when we're in our goofy authors meetings, or when we're doing our other things. She always holds herself to a really, really awesome and higher standard, which I value, because Teresa, when you hold yourself to a higher standard, you elevate the expectation of the room to also adhere to that standard. And I always feel that, and I'm always so grateful, and I always try to reflect that on everyone else. So thank you for who you are.
Well, thanks, John. Wow.
Of course, yeah. There we go. Pound. More coming. Let me just pull some more out of my bag here. I want to talk a little bit about your show, the Teresa Talks, the TV show. You interview published and unpublished authors, and you've mentioned that this means that you get to talk to, or you want to talk to, brilliant people whose minds are just different, who people who intellectually are thinking different. Tell us a little bit more about your TV show and why you absolutely love and have brought it to life, the Teresa Talks TV show.
Well, thank you so much for asking me about it, because I'm super passionate about my TV show. I have inspiring conversations with authors, published and unpublished. So clearly, published authors have their ideas and their thoughts and their passions already on the printed page, right? But unpublished authors are people who just haven't put their brilliant thoughts and ideas on the printed page yet, but I think that they will. I feel like everyone has a book in them and they just haven't gotten it out yet. And it's never been easier to write your book than it is right now, because you can go into Word and you can click that little microphone up in the corner and you can just speak your book into existence. So like myself, who's not a whiz bang typist, you don't have to be. You could just speak your book into existence. Mm-hmm. And then now it's more easy than ever to get a developmental editor who will help you put the chunks of your book in the right order and so forth. Because like me as a proofreader, I'm the last person who's going to see your book.
Yeah.
Right. You need those editors that will see the book in advance of it coming to me to put your book in the proper order for the reader. But I want to talk to those people who haven't gotten their book on the page yet, because I feel like everyone has a story to tell, and Teresa Talks wants to talk to those people too.
I value that so much. That is a really cool angle, and also just something that you get to achieve as a yearning and a desire of your own to connect with these amazing people. Wow, that's phenomenal. And you've had some pretty cool people on the show already, and that's exciting. I'm really, really excited for that and for you and for what you're up to. And I know that we'll send people to Teresa Talks TV. Make sure I get the website and where people can find you later. Let's shift gears here just a little bit. Now,
okay.
On the Circle of Knowledge, we love to talk about the nuggets of knowledge that you've learned. Now, given your background, given your story, and all of your, I'll call it your quick and nimble adjustments, right? With moving because of military lifestyle, and also juggling kids and your amazing talents. You've had to reinvent yourself. And so I'd love to learn a little bit more about you and how you've reinvented yourself, but tell us a little bit about what nuggets of knowledge you would like our audience to know, as if you were talking to your younger self or sharing what you wish you knew when you were younger, growing up. What is it that Teresa's learned throughout her life that's a nugget of knowledge worth sharing?
Well, not so much my younger self, but what I've learned recently that has had the most impact on where I find myself right now, and that is to say yes. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like I have had ambition within me for so long, but haven't learned how to realize it and bring it to the fore. So when I had a friend of mine that I actually met sort of through my local work and my day job, call me and mentioned to me that I needed to get on a call and meet this woman named Forbes Riley. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm not so sure what you mean. And she's like, well, she's kind of like a female Tony Robbins, and she's really awesome, and you need to meet her. And I was like, okay, I'll say yes to that. And so I got on the call, and this was like pre-pandemic, and she was doing what she calls Forbes Factor Live in Florida. And so I was like, well, okay, I'll say yes. And so I was making a plan to go to Florida and attend this event. And so it was really kind of all like brand spanking new. I didn't know anything about it, but it was really the beginning of mentorship, which I was not necessarily familiar with in the way that we think and know and understand mentorship. And so the pandemic hit and it turned into a virtual event. And it was actually Forbes's first virtual event that she did, which was the birth of all of the stuff that she's been doing now.
Yeah.
And so I said yes to that. And we were like her freshman class. But that was the beginning of opening the whole world up to me, that I began to start to experience and learn and understand that there is so much out there that I had no idea that was there, but it was what I was searching for and yearning for and wanting, but didn't know how to tap into and didn't know was there. But I said yes on that phone call to my friend to meet her friend, Forbes Riley. And that has brought me to where I am to be talking to you today, Jon Kovach. So I said yes. And then I took classes with Forbes and I met more people and the connections began. And so, isn't this what everything is about that we do? It's through our connections and our relationships and our friendships that we build. And so it's how I know Anna Bofield, and it's how I know Erin Lay. And Erin has been on my show, and she and I now, I consider her a friend of mine.
Oh.
And we haven't physically met, but I've threatened her that I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to drive up to New York and I'm going to meet her. So, someday that's going to happen when I can kiss my day job goodbye. But I'm so grateful that even though it was kind of fearful and it was the great unknown, that I said yes, but I can attribute that to the experiences of my life because, the federal government or the U.S. Army says, here's your orders. You're going here. Boom. You pack up your house. Well, they come and pack up your house, but you go into the great unknown and and that's where my faith comes in. And it's like, because God is still bigger than the federal government of the United States. And it's like, this is where you're going to go. Trust me. And we do. And off we go. But we're a strong family unit, and home is where my family is, and being at my husband's side, and we just go and we just do. And it's what we're called to do. But it's not for the faint of heart, right? Not every woman's cut out to do it. But we just go and we do. And so that's kind of how I've approached all of this. I said yes. So then, Forbes puts out the thing. She goes, who wants to be in a book? You've got, till the end of today. It was a Saturday morning. I woke up, there was the email, and I'm like, I want to be in a book. So, I came downstairs and she's like, here's the thing, write about this. And so you've got 250 words or 500 or so. Well, whatever the word count was. And I didn't even do anything else that day except make a cup of tea. And I sat here at the computer and I kept typing till I was done, and I sent it. And then this was the result of it in just like a few months, because that's how Steve Sandless rolls with his One Habit books. And so then I was a published author of like an international #1 best-selling book. And I was like, because I said yes. And so it is scary, but you have to grasp those opportunities when they come your way. And then you never know what's going to happen on the other side. And it could be the greatest thing that's ever happened to you because you said yes, right? So I can trace everything that's happened to me back to a phone call that I had with my friend named Sherry, because I said yes to getting on a phone call with Forbes Riley. So I have to give credit where credit is due there to my fabulous Forbes.
Wow. And it's very, very interesting is this world that we are in, because we said yes, is a lot smaller than you'd think. In 2016, I attended a Forbes Factor event as a vendor. At the time, I was an accountability coach working with a lot of coaches, gurus, and experienced mentors, and I was doing the accountability for a lot of their programs. And so I met Forbes at her own Forbes Factor Live, and through that means I got into the realm of self-development, where eventually I met more public speaking coaches, and I met through the vine of speaking in competitions, I met Eric, Mr. Awesome Swanson. So that's how it all came to be in the last few years. It's amazing.
Look at me and you. We can both trace ourselves back to Forbes Riley. How about that?
It's amazing. And it's all about, like you said, it's about saying yes to the opportunity and taking that immediate action and doing so. And I think what I caught from what you were saying was say yes, but then show up.
Oh, definitely.
And
I'm a shower-upper for sure.
You are.
I'll get in my car and I'll drive like places, and I'll hop on a plane and I'll go places. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not afraid to do that kind of stuff. I'm not afraid to go by myself. I'm not afraid to be like alone in the crowd, because I'll only be alone for about that long, because I'm going to meet somebody. I'm going to go up and say, hey, my name's Teresa Cundiff. I'm from Virginia. Where are you from? And what's your name? And, blah, 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 blah. I just will, because we've moved around, and when you only live someplace for 2 years, that goes by like that.
Yeah.
And you have to, dive in and create your life. Back in the day, no cell phones, no nothing. You had a phone and you had a map, and you're like, I've just moved in here. I don't know where the hospital is, for starters. Right. And it's like, you have the phone and you have the phone book, and it's like, I need to know how to get where you are. Can you give me directions? And that's what you had to do to find your way around. And I can remember when my oldest son was little, he's like, Mom, how do you know where everything is every time we move somewhere? He thought I was a genius, right? And of course, that's what your kids are supposed to think about you.
Right.
But I said, honey, I just get out the phone and the phone book and I find my way around. It's like I couldn't be held hostage because I was in a new city. That was ridiculous, right? So anyway,
I was literally. Are you familiar with the app Marco Polo?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Eric and I are constantly back and forth on Marco Polo, and
I'll have to find you guys on there and send you some, and just be funny.
You should, yeah. We love Marco Polo. I was recently talking about how, because I'm young, right? And
of course you are.
The average age of the people I hang out with are about 20 years older than I am. But age is irrelevant to me. Age doesn't matter. I think of everybody as like either slightly older than me or whatever, but it's just so irrelevant to me. But anyways, the funny thing we were talking about was how I did grow up in a generation where I still had corded phones, and we had one in the kitchen, and ours was about 10 or 15 feet long, like super long.
Oh, and, yeah. And then you stretch it.
Yeah. And then in order to sneak in a phone call with my middle school girlfriends, I would take that corded phone and like string it all the way across the kitchen, and I would hide in the pantry and close myself in so no one could hear my conversations, and I could, anyone could pick up the phone in the rest part of the house and listen in. But anyways, that was a fun conversation. And I told him that story as a result of like what you were just saying, that even having like the older or the historical means of picking up a phone or an answering machine or any of those things, that they're still very vital, and there's lessons to be learned from that. But aside from all that, let's invite my listeners and now your listeners, because everyone, we want you to connect with Teresa. We want you to go check out Teresa's Teresa Talks TV show, and we also want you to learn more about her. But let's challenge them to take some action. What's some advice, some action that they could take today based on the information that they've received, based on the amazing golden nuggets of knowledge that we've shared? What's something you'd like to challenge them to do?
Well, that's a good question. I would just say to tamp down their fear when the next time someone asks them to do something, and not necessarily when someone is asking them to do something for like that person.
Yeah.
Not when they say, hey, can you do this for me? But when someone says, hey, do you want to go somewhere? Right? Like to do something that's spontaneous, right? Because that's oftentimes when people are like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, no. And look, your girl here is not going to go bungee jumping. Forget that. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. That's just crazy pants. Okay. Right? But it's like when someone's like, "Hey, do you want to go this and so?" And especially if it's an opportunity to connect with somebody. Like if somebody wants to spend time with you, to get to know you and foster a relationship, I feel like that those kinds of things are important. So I would challenge you to say yes to that. And then maybe for you to be the initiator of a connection. Maybe someone that you want to get to know better, but maybe you're afraid to reach out to that person. I would challenge you to do that, especially if it's someone local to you that you can actually physically meet up with and go for a coffee or have a meal together. I would challenge you to pick up the phone, or if that's too scary, send an email or however way you think you can get in touch with them and just invite them, because you might be surprised. I was on a LinkedIn summit yesterday, and the people that were the panelists were talking about having conversations, as well as our global speakers mastermind the other night. Steve Sims was talking about having conversations and how important those things were, and to like connect on a proper level. Because he says, what happens when Steve Sims says, what happens when you're in Starbucks and you've made your order? People are on their phone because they're so afraid that somebody next to them is going to like talk to them, when that's what people actually used to do in the line at the grocery store. They actually used to talk to each other, but nobody does that anymore because they're so busy checking their notifications. So
That's right.
So I would challenge you to do that, to make a actual connection with someone.
Oh, I love that. I love that more than what we had planned to say, because that is so real and so amazing. And what I mean by what we plan to say, I always have a questionnaire before anyone comes on the show, and we talk about it. So I love that. So and obviously the revolving invitation to always say yes. I think those two themes together are extremely powerful. You probably get the inkling of why I selfishly put on this podcast, mostly because I can sit in the presence of awesomeness and have these people give my audience the commands to action, whereas I just get to sit here and just soak it up and say, yeah, that is something that I personally get to improve and work on in my life. And so thank you for that. And I absolutely love that. Thank you for sharing the knowledge, and thank you for just showing up and being you in life, so that we can obviously feed off of that energy, feed off of the lessons, and learn from you, because knowledge is worth sharing and taking action on. And I want to thank you. I also want to point my audience to how to get in touch with you. I'll put it right here on the chat. I'm going to expand the screen here and say you guys can go and follow Teresa by clicking on her link. It's the Linktree/Teresa Cundiff. And there she has a lot of links, probably giveaways, a bunch of other things too, some amazing things. You can also get in touch with her by going to Teresa, and that's
Just email me.
You can email her. And by the way, guys, that's Teresa with no H. It's Teresa, Teresa. And you can email her. You can follow her on social media and get in touch with her. But there are so many important and incredible ways that people can connect with you. I believe that you have, let's see, our listeners can find out more. I had one other thing. Okay, that was it. I wanted to make sure I covered all my bases. Reading my notes here, but absolutely having the opportunity to connect with Teresa, you guys, you absolutely should. She is phenomenal. And when does the show air, or when can we find out about more about Teresa Talks and follow the live show on that?
Well, the show, funny thing that you should ask, the show airs at different times. I generally try to drop the episodes on Tuesday.
Oh, cool.
But your girl's
But
still the girl's still working her day job. So when I do have a new episode to drop, what I do is I share the still shot and the clip from the show across Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So you know that a new show is dropping. And so there's always a still shot and a clip of the author. You can always go to my website, which is teresatalkstv.com. And that's going to have all the previous seasons and the episodes. And I'm filming season 3 or recording season 3 right now. So I'm also booking in season 3 right now too. The seasons run on the quarter instead of fall to spring like regular TV does, because it's digital streaming TV. And you can find the episodes on Roku, Apple TV, Google TV, Amazon Fire, and on smart TVs. When you buy the smart TVs now, they have the different apps loaded in. And so Legrity TV is already loaded in there for you, and it's Legrity. It's legacy and integrity slammed together to form a new word, Legrity TV. So that's where you'll find Teresa Talks on there.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And you guys heard it here. Go and follow Teresa on LinkedIn, connect with her there, Facebook, Instagram, where then you'll get updates about the drops of the show when they go available to the public. And soon you will find this face on that show, but I'll make sure that we promote that. And thank you for your time on my show, and thank you again for just showing up and being amazing. I'd love to have you back on the Circle of Knowledge podcast. We'll arrange that to occur, because I know that there was. I do know that there's so much more that you and I can cover because of who you are, your background, and what you know, and I love that. And I always get the sense that 45 minutes is just never long enough, because there's so much more we could get into. And I just want to help you. I want to thank you for helping me settle the world's biggest debate. And I also want to thank you just for being an amazing human being, for showing up, for leading with love and kindness. And I thank you so much. And I'm very, very grateful.
Well, Jon, it's been a pleasure being here and chatting with you. I definitely look forward to having you on Teresa Talks. And there is so much to talk about, and there never is enough time. So yes, I'd love to come back.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Give it up, everybody, for Miss Teresa Cundiff. As we throw off the end of the show, I just do want to invite to those listening, if you are interested in being considered for the Circle of Knowledge podcast, where I interview you, such as what just happened, to be considered, just send me an email at info@mychampioncircle.com. Everything is being funneled through the international business of mychampioncircle.com. So please send us an email over there. And without any further ado, I am so selfishly grateful for the opportunity I had to learn from Teresa. Hopefully you guys took amazing notes, and share on social media what you're learning on the podcast. Let us know that you're loving the show, that you're enjoying everything, and drop us a like, a follow, or even a 5-star review. And that would make this amazing for us as we continue to drop knowledge and provide those nuggets of wisdom and information to help you take action and to improve your life. Without any further ado, and without any else left to say or to speak about on this show, let me end the show with our outro. Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.